The ceremony was a political union, a treaty sealed with silk and ceremony. Princess Ilaris of the Varelian Empire had no choice in the matter. Nor did the human, it seemed. Her people had fought humanity for decades before the war reached its unsustainable peak. Casualties on both sides, broken worlds, decimated fleets. The Varelians, proud and bioluminescent beings who shimmered under starlight, had once considered humans savage, unworthy of diplomacy. But when the Varelian moon shattered during a retaliatory strike, killing millions, Ilaris knew peace had to be bought, not begged for. Her hand in marriage was the price. Her groom, Captain Jensen Thorne of the Terran Space Navy, the so-called warlord of Ganymede, a brute by every account, a tactician responsible for some of the most efficient and merciless battles in the outer colonies. She dreaded him. She dreaded what he represented. The wedding was to take place aboard the Unity Ark, a neutral station suspended between both empires' borders, a marvel of engineering, and a prison in a way. Ilaris stood before the mirror of her chambers, adjusting the thin diadem braided into her lavender-blue hair. Her twin hearts beat uneasily. She'd read about human customs, their bluntness, their single hearts, their short tempers. He would see her as a prize. She would see him as the chain that ended her freedom. Soft chime echoed. "The human groom has arrived," came the voice of her attendant. "He is being prepared in the adjacent chamber." Ilaris inhaled sharply. The scent of her calming oils filled her nose. Saffron and glass leaf. She wasn't ready, but it didn't matter. She stepped through the ornate doorway and entered the ceremonial chamber. The air shimmered with holographic constellations. The floor beneath her feet was carved with the dual sigils of their empires. And at the far end stood Jensen Thorne. She stopped. He wasn't what she expected. Oh yes, broad-shouldered certainly. But his expression was unreadable. Not arrogant, not cold. He looked calm, perhaps even uncertain. He wore the ceremonial silver-lined uniform of a Terran commander, but it was his eyes that caught her breath. They were gray like storm clouds, but gentle, observing, alive. He bowed slightly. "Princess Ilaris," he said, his voice deep and even. "It's an honor, not a demand, not a boast." She inclined her head. "Captain Thorne, I trust your journey was uneventful." "Eventful enough," he said with a faint, ironic smile. "They said I was being delivered to my execution." That surprised a smile out of her, despite herself. "They said the same of me." The officiant, an elder from the Ark's neutral sect, gestured them forward. The ceremony was spoken in High Galactic, the old tongue shared by both empires. The vows were traditional. Duty, loyalty, mutual guardianship of peace. Neither of them flinched. Neither of them truly meant it. But when the moment came, when the officiant asked them to look into each other's eyes and bind their intent, something shifted. Ilaris met his gaze. And Jensen looked. Not just at her face, but into her. As if searching for something. As if listening without words. She felt it. The silence stretching between them. A question unspoken, and an answer she didn't understand. Her breath hitched. For a second she forgot the audience. Forgot the cameras. Forgot the war that made them enemies. He lowered his head slightly, respectfully. "I vow to stand by your side," he said. "Not as a conqueror, not as a jailer, but as a man who wants to understand the universe through your eyes." Gasps rippled through the crowd. That wasn't part of the prepared vows. Ilaris stared at him. Something warm uncoiled in her chest. "I avow the same," she whispered. "And that we might build peace, not simply sign it. The final rite was sealed with the entwining of hands. Varelians and humans had different body temperatures, and when his skin met hers, there was a surprising flicker of warmth, almost electric. The war was over, but something else had begun. Their quarters were private, though patrolled. An alliance like this had to be constantly monitored. Assassins, saboteurs, internal resistance. They were figureheads in a delicate dance. Ilaris sat by the large viewing pane of their shared suite, watching the stars. Jensen emerged from the hygiene chamber. His uniform coat off, sleeves rolled up. He carried 2 mugs. "I don't know what you drink," he said, holding one out to her. "So I made something safe. Synth leaf with citrus." She took it carefully. "You brewed this. I didn't want the AI to poison you by accident. Figured it was safer if I risked it myself." A sip. "Was good. You surprised me today," she admitted. "Yeah. In what way?" "You weren't what I expected." Jensen chuckled softly, taking the seat across from her. "Let me guess. You imagined a warlord with a scar across his face and blood in his teeth." "Yes," she said bluntly. He didn't look offended. "I imagined a cold princess who looked down on humans like we were insects." She tilted her head. "And do I?" "Not anymore." They sat in silence for a time, the stars shifting slowly beyond the glass. "Why did you say those words?" she asked. "About wanting to see the universe through my eyes." Jensen looked into his mug, swirling the contents. "Because I didn't agree with this marriage. I didn't want to be used as a symbol. But when I read about you, your speeches, your work with post-war refugees, I realized you were trying to fix something that no one else could. And you respect that." "Yeah, you do." "I figured if I was going to be chained to someone for the sake of peace, I'd rather be chained to someone who actually gives a damn." Her twin hearts skipped a beat. "I don't intend to chain you," she said softly. He looked at her, his eyes unreadable again. "Good," he said. "Because I'm not here to tame you either." Days turned to weeks aboard the Unity Arkansas. Their interactions remained formal in public, but behind closed doors, a different rhythm emerged. They shared meals, conversations, even laughter. Ilaris discovered Jensen read poetry, ancient Terran verse that spoke of stars and storms and love lost in war. He discovered she was fascinated by music, especially old human jazz, with its unpredictable notes and wild freedom. They trained together, sparred with mock weapons, debated history and the philosophy of war. And yet they never crossed the line of intimacy. Not because they feared it, because something more complex was growing, something unspoken. It was during a diplomatic summit aboard the Ark that everything changed. A Varelian radical, still loyal to the war cause, infiltrated the station. Disguised as a server, he detonated a high-frequency sonic charge aimed at Jensen. Ilaris saw the device first. Without thinking, she leapt in front of him. The blast sent them both sprawling. She lay bleeding, her bioluminescent skin flickering like a failing star. Jensen, mostly unharmed, scrambled to her side, eyes wild with panic. "Ilaris, stay with me." "Why did you call me that?" she asked, her voice a rasp. "Because He stopped, followed. "Because you're not just a princess anymore. Not to me." He touched her cheek. "You saved my life." She blinked up at him, dizzy. "I didn't think. I couldn't let you die." Her hand found his. "Look at me, Jensen." He did. In that moment, with death brushing her skin, she saw something raw in his eyes. Something real.